Hello and welcome to the Beer Bro podcast. Um, the previous episode, uh, this is Beer Bro Graham and Beer Bro Joe. The previous episode, I talked with Beer Bro Joe about his formative books in his younger years when he was just a beardling. And the books that Joe said had an impact on him were Soap Soap, Don't Forget the Soap by Tom Birdseye, a children's illustrated book, uh, quasi Appalachian Folktale, the Magic Treehouse series by Mary Pope Osborne, an illustrated series which follows Jack and Annie as they adventure through space and time in a magical treehouse. The MVP, or Magellan Voyage Project by Douglas Evans, which Joe says he credits inspiring him to travel the world, explore the different cultures, and meet different people as one of the inspirations. Geronimo Stilton series by Elisabetta Dami, the mouse detective story. Also, another illustrated children's series, Del Toro Dragons by Emily Rhoda, specifically, uh, Del Toro Quest 3, but dragons are dragons. Dragons are cool. And then general Star Wars pre-Disney acquisition of the multitudinous Star Wars series following Leia, Han Solo, the galaxy's favorite scoundrel with his partner Chewbacca. You know, lots of Star Wars love from Beer Bro Joe. But now, Beer Bro Joe will be asking me about my formative literature, and Joe's beard is in a twist because as a English major, my books were a little different than Joe, but Joe can talk about that.
Yes, well, when I was given my assignment to pick some formative literature books to talk about, I thought formative years was what we were going to be using as the benchmark. I did not realize that talking about formative years meant talking about everything up to the time of age 18. I was thinking more like late elementary school, early middle school. Uh, we apparently are allowed to go into high school with this formative literature thing. So when he sent me the list, I was like, you did not say we could go this high. This seems like some pretty advanced stuff for a fifth grader. So yeah. Um
In future, the behind the beard conversations
well,
will
probably
be
talk
clearer.
more
Will be clearer.
more
Well, but Joe,
more
speaking on
about
that,
Star
what
Wars
other series
cuz
or
I
books or
really got
authors would you have added if you went later in your life?
into it um towards uh in high school and so on. And then I forget I read this really good series in high school. Oh, the Maze Runner series. That was a good one. That one really got me thinking. But I don't remember what. Oh, okay. I know. I would have talked about two very specific Star Wars books that are near and dear to my heart called Rebel Dream and Rebel Stand. And they are my all-time favorite books. They're like a mini series inside a series where it follows the journey of Han, Leia, their daughter Jaina, um, their son Jason, who's been captured by the enemy, Luke, and like their whole entourage. But they're basically, the whole concept is the they're given an impossible task and told to just hold the line while people retreat, and then they're like, okay, we'll hold the line, and everyone's like, wait, what? You're calling our bluff, huh? We don't actually want you to hold the line. We just want you all to die out. And they're like, no. We'll do it. We got this. So they actually end up forming a whole plan, and they go through this whole charade of tricking the enemy into thinking that they're even more powerful than they think. And then they also thumb their nose at the enemy's gods, which the enemy are religious zealots. So that was a wonderful time. And then they culminate it in what is essentially a giant orchestrated failure, to the point where they take the largest military asset in the arsenal of the government and they crash it into the enemy, and they're like, this is good, we won. And the enemy's like, we won, but then they're like, wait, shit, no, we lost hard.
I have been reading more Star Wars books, and
Public Commando.
I think recently I was, or most recently I was reading, what's the author's name? Oh, the Republic Commando that Beer Bro Joe sent me as a lovely Christmas present. But through the library app Libby, yes, I was reading Aftermath, Life Debt by Chuck Wendig.
Oh, nope. You just lost all street cred with
Well,
me, sir.
well, those are the Star
You
Wars books that are available through Libby.
That's post Disney. That is literally Disney thumbprints all over that shit. There's a reason I own Aftermath. I haven't even made it through the first chapter, and there's a reason I haven't picked that book up in the 5 years I've owned it. And also, from what I understand, the Star Wars book community can be very toxic, but sometimes they do get it right. And if I understand correctly, Chuck Wendig is on the shit list for good reason. But I stopped
Well,
being part of those groups because they were getting very toxic, and I did not like that toxicity. It was bad for my skin.
yes, I
But
would say
I'm not
I would
interested.
say most fandoms, there are definitely individuals and subgroups that are incredibly toxic.
Star Wars is known for its toxicity, sir. But enough about Star Wars. We should talk about The
This is
Alchemist.
true.
The Alchemist.
Indeed,
So,
indeed, The
what
Alchemist, very different from Star
drew
Wars.
you to this Egyptian shepherd boy searching for treasure, finding love, meeting mentors, and learning who he is and how to improve himself? What drew you to this?
Santiago the Shepherd Boy. Honestly, out of context, it sounds like a romance novel. But then when you read The Alchemist by acclaimed author Paulo Coelho, I believe he's a Brazilian author, and uh, Santiago is the coming of age of, I think he's like 14 or maybe 16, um, but he's like, not an adult. So um, though I I would say that there are probably fan fictions of Santiago as a strapping uh, a Spanish shepherd with the ripped muscles and the white cotton shirt and the hair blowing in the breeze. But fan fiction will be a topic discussed in the future
Ooh,
with a potential
yay.
guest. Um, yes, yes, and Beer Bro Joe is very excited because the Star Wars fan
No.
fiction
See,
is
when
plentiful as well.
episode that episode comes, it's gonna be you and our potential special guest. I
Yes, yes, I think Beer
I'm
Bro
gonna
Joe will probably
be
be
I'm gonna be
doing some beard
growing my
maintenance
beard
that
out
day.
in Cancun on that day.
He'll be at the barber shop. Yes, enjoying the tropical weather, but similar to Cancun. So the alchemist follows Santiago. He's a shepherd boy. It's a very humble story, and he just wants to see more of the world. He wants to try, essentially. I think that's what the main through line of the alchemist was for me, is that like throughout your life you have so many, like in the book Santiago meets this old king who just appears to be an old man, and they just strike up a conversation. Santiago went into town with his sheep to sell some of them so then he can continue traveling. He has a few books that he also uses as pillows. So it's a romantic view of this nomadic life as a shepherd. He moves from town to town. He has a love in the town, but he only usually sees her once a year when he comes to sell the sheep, and they talk, and then he leaves and he continues on his life. So I think this, not like, he doesn't really have like a sense of belonging because of his um nomadic life, but I think the fact that if you want to like go out and travel,
Mm-hmm.
which is a trait that Joe and I both share, that travel we have both traveled the world. Me, I've traveled to Costa Rica
Literally
and
went around the
parts of
world.
Europe, and then Joe
Yeah,
has done semester at sea. And I think,
literally.
yeah, just casually went around the world. Just, no big deal. Humble brag, humble brag. But I think that's what, and I also, as I'm sure some of our listeners, like The Alchemist was assigned to me in my English class in 8th grade. So a transitory point in my life, and I think it's a good book to show readers like the option of living your life to what you want to do, because ultimately, like, even if you have like family expectations, of which I certainly do, or other like responsibilities in life, ultimately it's your life to live, and it's your decisions that you'll reflect on as you get older. Like, man, I really wish I took that trip. Man, I really wish I traveled the world. Man, I really wish I took that job, in X city or in X country. And I think that's what really resonates with me, is that like the strange characters and people that he meets along his way, like from the Englishman to the Arabian characters, um, and then eventually when he finds the buried treasure, um, it was in a place that he spent quite a lot of time at, and so it was a very circular story of, yes, like experiencing life and traveling is amazing because then it gives you a new perspective on what you had already. So it's a nice circle. Like, go out and live life because then you have new knowledge about the things that you may have like taken for granted, or just become drudgery in your life, because that's what happens in life, is that routines and responsibilities, then they become almost like weights or shackles, and they just like drag you down. But then as you experience different things and get different perspectives, then the weights and responsibilities don't become so heavy, or you view them in a different way. So I think that's what really drew me to The Alchemist, and why I still read it once a year, even today.
Interesting. Interesting. You know that book is that. No,
Yes.
I have
Uh,
not.
have you read The Alchemist?
You know that book is listed for
Oh.
ninth to 10th grade. So you
Well,
were in
I
some sort
heartily recommend it.
of advanced
Well,
reading or something. What are you, a smart kid or something?
um, just humble brag. I may have read a book or two. You know, I may know how to read. I
Interesting.
did it.
Well, speaking of
I did it.
traveling and pushing yourself beyond your own boundaries, let's switch over to that thing we like to call the Hobbit. Uh,
Oh, The Hobbit, a little known independent book by
illustrious,
very uh
not well known J.R.R. Tolkien, the
well,
father
I
of
was gonna
modern
go for the tongue in
fantasy.
cheek of the not well known author. Yeah, little, yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, you may have heard of him, but if you haven't, that's okay. But yes, yes, The Hobbit. Because I was considering putting The Lord of the Rings in place of The Hobbit, but I think The Hobbit is um, The Hobbit is the opening door to, as you said, Tolkien is the father of modern fantasy. I mean, or many authors, from Neil Gaiman to George R.R. Martin with his Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire series, have credited Tolkien as a major influence in their works and career. But rather than listing The Lord of the Rings, which I think
Jesus.
the set that I have is, I think, close to 2,000 pages, between the Fellowship of the King, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King. Um, it might be like 2,500 pages. They are dense
That's a lot
books,
of
and
books.
Tolkien's prose is dense, so it's a lot of reading and complicated reading.
Yes.
Even now, I think I finished the Lord of the Rings once, and that was after many many attempts of sitting with Tolkien's work and just hacking at it, just repeatedly smashing my young beard to be my imaginary young beard on my face into the book over and over again, just reading one page at a time. But eventually I got through it. And so I think that's why The Hobbit is much more digestible and easy to approach, in that, like, I would say readers as early as like 10, 12 could read The Hobbit and understand the story of young Bilbo Baggins. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't really speak to this one. I've seen the
uh,
movies, but I know for a fact the movies are not remotely close to the books. And that usually causes a bit of a sticking point in people's beards, you know?
Very true. Very true. I would say on the movies, I think Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, of which the extended edition I think clocks in at like 13 to 14 hours, which is amazing because I've watched those films many times. But his, I think when he was writing and directing, um, or I think primarily directing, but like not writing the story, but writing like director's notes for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was he was in a different just place, I think, as a director because he was less well known, and I think The Hobbit suffered from the success of the Lord of the Rings trilogy because from what I've heard of the production is that Peter Jackson would spend like the night before like revising and revising his notes on the things they were that he was directing the following morning, so that I think it was more of a rushed job, and that maybe he just second guessed himself with how he wanted to portray the Hobbit. Because, taking the Hobbit, which I think is like 200 to 250 pages, to then break that into 3 2-hour movies, it's a lot of plot invention and plot elements that maybe didn't need to be there, like having Legolas in The Hobbit. Did Legolas need to be there? Probably not. Did there need to be a romance story between a dwarf and elf, which traditionally have had a contentious relationship between the two mythical races? Probably not. Um, I think it was just a I would be interested to see what Peter Jackson thinks of The Hobbit now, since there's been some time for reflection since the first movie for The Hobbit came out in 2014. So quite some time has passed. Oh wait, no, that was the final movie.
Yeah, I was about
2012.
to
Oh my
say I
gosh, even more.
saw a
Even more time.
movie in 2014 for my TV media class. I was a senior in college. It was the last movie in the series, or senior in high school. What am I talking about? I don't know what year it is. Anyway, I was a senior in high school and I saw the last movie in the series. Annoyed my friend Ben with some of the things I said about that movie for years. It was great. But anyway, yeah. Uh,
Wow. I mean, it is a
Definitely.
spectacle. Like it is like the visuals are amazing. The story, and I think the invented plot elements are what um, a lot of people have problems with. But ultimately, it's more Star Wars content, and by Star
Yeah.
Wars, I mean Lord of the Rings, because I was thinking of the
Don't
Star Wars
exist.
sequels and how people also have,
Don't
a
exist.
contentious relationship with that. But I appreciate that there's more Lord of the Rings. Even the new Lord of the Rings TV series, people also have opinions about that. But the more, content there is, the more that, young people are being inspired and potentially are writing new stories because of uh, these pieces of media that have been produced. So, Peter Jackson, good job. Good job, Peter Jackson. But yes, going back to the source material of The Hobbit, a story following Bilbo Baggins, a young hobbit living life in the Shire, enjoying his pipeweed, his second breakfast, his nice sedentary lifestyle, essentially just, you know, moving from his armchair in the morning to the chair on the porch outside his hobbit hole, his little hole in the ground. Um, lovely bag end, which hopefully I will be able to travel to New Zealand and see in person,
Dang.
which would be amazing. But it's a very, again, similar to The Alchemist. It's an adventure story. Um, who Bilbo is content with life, but similar to Santiago, um, initially doesn't want to see more of the world, but Gandalf has a
Mm.
different plan for Bilbo, so he helps him a little bit. He kicks him out the door, he kicks him on the road, and as the lovely quote, um, oh no, oh no, what is the Oh, yes. You step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where
Mm.
you might be swept off to.
Speaking of kicking, let's kick it on over to another book from your list, Fahrenheit 451, which, while I've not read it, I've heard more than enough about it, and I think book burning is an atrocity. So that is where I'm going to leave you off to talk about this book. Book burning is an atrocity.
Indeed. Indeed. I think book burning, the physical act really, just represents the inherent power that knowledge has. Because, Ray Bradbury, a literary giant similar to Tolkien, um, Fahrenheit 451. It was originally published in 1953, and it's characterized as a dystopian novel, and it follows Guy Montag, a fireman who literally burns books. The title is a play on words uh, by Bradbury's invention that is the temperature at which books burn. And if you have not read Fahrenheit 451, please read it. It is more
Then you
applicable
would realize
today um, than ever,
is sad.
which is sad, but also important that we have, because I believe Fahrenheit 451. I don't
If
know if it's on the banned books list.
it's not,
Uh,
it's probably gonna be there soon. And by soon,
yeah,
I
but
mean
I
like the next month. Hold on.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any like racial
Uh huh.
critiques, which most of the books on the banned book list usually have to do with. It's usually like perspectives from like BIPOC individuals, which some individuals on school boards and other institutions censor those books, and it's like, why are you doing that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Uh, because
Oh,
that's not how responsible discourse about these very important
it
topics should
was
happen. But
banned in 1987. in Florida. Of course, it was Florida.
Florida, the academic state of the United States. That's where all the big brains are. Wow, that's where the brain trusts are. If
Uh,
any of our listeners are curious about where the smartest people are
was
in the United States, Florida. The
Ben.
Florida men and women who are on the news, they're actually geniuses who just couldn't deal with their inherent genius. So then they turn to um, illegal drugs so they can just have some relief. And then they, head to the, parking lot of their preferred, fast food restaurants to seek more relief. It's really, it's a very tragic story, similar to Guy Montag's story, that as a fireman,
Oh,
he goes, hello,
yeah, it looks like it might be on the list as of December 21st. Hello? Okay, you didn't speak
unfortunate,
for a while, so
hello,
I was like, did I lose you completely?
well,
All right, back to what you were saying.
all right. Well, back to Guy Montag. So similar to that. I mean, that's
But
very
not
unfortunate
surprising.
that Fahrenheit 451 is on the banned list, but not surprising, as Beer Brojo just said. But that's ultimately the story. The story follows Montag as he deals with um, his role as essentially like getting rid of knowledge that the regime within the story doesn't agree with, because you know as as we know, firemen in today's world
Do
don't
they
start
though?
fires; they put out fires. So that is Bradbury's very very in depth, you know, uh, tongue in cheek turn on Montag's career. But Montag secretly, or Montag has a secret, because I will not spoil this book because I think it is one of the greats I have read throughout my life. But it really makes you think about your role in society, and ultimately the choices that you make that you can justify to yourself, and then the choices that you make or don't act on that you can't justify, or that just, like in Earworm, when you hear a catchy song, it just comes back and surprises you later,
It's funny you mention
and
earworms
it
because,
never
like,
goes away.
even yesterday, I was singing in my head for the entire week. I've been singing "Dig a Little Deeper" from Princess and the Frog, Disney's Princess and the Frog. That song has been stuck in my head all week, and I finally listened to it yesterday. I didn't finish the whole thing, so now it's still stuck in
Mm.
there. But that was just really funny that you brought up earworms. Yeah. You know the song that appeals to me most in
Oh,
that
Mama
movie
Odie.
is the one that Ray sings to the crap. Why can't I can't remember her name either. Something lean.
Oh yes, to
Hold
to
on.
his
No.
lovely to his lovely what's his is it Jolene? Let's see.
Evangeline. That's it. My Belle Evangeline. That song, my favorite one from the
Evangeline.
movie. Love me some heartfelt love. you're an
Well,
ass.
it does make sense that you would.
Sir, you are. No, I know what you meant
Empathize
by
with
that,
Ray,
and
with Ray and the Princess and the Frog. Well, no, because Ray has such a pure heart,
that
and
that was a
yeah,
low blow even for you, and
no.
you love those low blows.
Well, listeners of the podcast,
Yes,
Beer Bro Joe is currently going through some emotional
the
turmoil. So he
timing
thinks I'm making a
was a
personal
little
attack on him, but I
smelly.
was more speaking to Ray's innocence
The
and
timing was a little
not his
smelly.
physical depiction within the story.
That's not what I was saying either. I was saying you were making a metaphor about my current situation and Ray. And you're not wrong.
Oh, you were
You're not
going that aspect
wrong.
of it.
You're not wrong. But that's a low blow. It's still a low blow. Even if you're not wrong, it's still a low blow. That's all I'm gonna
Oh,
say.
oh, Beer
Anyway,
Bro Joe.
moving on.
Well, listeners, unrequited love
I didn't say
is a
nothing about
dangerous road.
unrequited love. I just said that it was a low blow, and I said we could move on. I
Well, yeah,
said nothing
yeah,
about unrequited love. This is not
yeah.
me denying or admitting anything. This is just me saying that was not brought up, and that has nothing to do with the conversation we're having.
Well, indeed, indeed. Well, Ray finds his Evangeline in the end.
Oh boy, does he. We won't
Well,
spoil
because
that
he
for
dies.
you. Anyway, now for
Yeah, Guy Montag does not have unrequited love in Fahrenheit 451. He is in a sad marriage, but the knowledge and the books that he burns light something within him. So
lights on. That was good. That was a good one.
well, thank
All
you,
right.
thank you.
Well, it's time to bring this all to a close with your last book on the list because I refuse to accept your submission that you did 5 seconds before we started recording.
Well, that's okay because they're both by the same author, so I will reference that book anyways.
I will not acknowledge it. I will only talk about this one. The BFG, the
The BFG.
otherwise
Oh,
known
continue.
as the Big Friendly Giant. I can only guess and hope that is what the letters stand for. Because if it isn't, this is an even more misleading title than I thought. Since the book is, in fact, about a nice, big, friendly
Yes.
giant who collects and gives good dreams to children and then teams up with an orphan to get rid of all of the children eating giants and bring world peace, I'm guessing, from children not being eaten by giants.
Yes. You are correct in that the three letters do
No world
stand for
peace.
Big Friendly Giant. Roald Dahl. World Peace. I don't think
Is
that's.
that a pipe dream?
Yes, that is a pipe dream. Unfortunately, to Beer Bro Joe and our dear listeners, world peace. Well, just peace in general. Very complicated, and I don't think the um, author, Mr. Dahl, was looking for or uh, was intending to give his readers world peace through his stories. I think it's more about the relationship between um, the a big friendly giant and Sophie, the 8-year-old girl who uh, they become friends after Sophie sees the big friendly giant during the night, and that he looks suspicious in his nightly activities as he uses a long trumpet in the bedroom windows of her fellow orphans. But then uh, the big friendly giant, on seeing that Sophie has seen him, uh, captures her and takes her to Giant Country. And that um, his cousins do not treat the human beings in quite the same way that the BFG has treated Sophie so far. Uh, the other giants eat them. I would say the classic Roald Dahl prose is that the man-eating giants say that people from Greece taste greasy, so no giant goes there. While people from Panama taste like hats, and that people from Russia are nice, um, like refreshing taste, while people from the human beings from America are more rich in their, you know, taste of the human beings. But the BFG does not eat human beings. He eats the repulsive snozcumber, which looks very similar to a cucumber, but it is repulsive.
You just That's an interesting reference to another book by Roald Dahl. Very interesting indeed.
What book is that?
Willy Wonka. Or
Oh, are there
Charlie.
snozcumbers in
No, they're
Willy Wonka as well?
snozberries.
Oh.
Possibly in that book. It might have been in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but that's obviously a reference to Roald Dahl in one of those two situations. Like, it either is Roald Dahl referencing himself or the movie referencing Roald Dahl by being like, snozberries taste like snozberries. Snozberry? Who ever heard of a snozberry? Oh, man.
Yeah,
When we
Roald
get
Dahl.
to formative movies, I'm gonna have to have like 6 episodes just of my shit.
Well, I don't think we'll have quite that many episodes, but it will probably be a longer episode
Oh no, it
of the
has to be
formative
at least
movies.
2. That is what my family did. We did road trips and cinematography. My cousin, oh god, it's gonna be a hoot and a holler when we talk about formative movies and such.
Well,
Cause I have a
pieces
lot.
pieces of media. They have impact on you. They do.
Yes.
But
Also,
I also I appreciate um, Joe ending with the BFG by Roald Dahl because as Joe's formative literature was um, on the younger side because, as he said, formative literature during our childhoods. This was the Roald Dahl was the author that was integral to my formative literature. Roald Dahl, C.S. Lewis, going back to Tolkien, but Roald Dahl just because of his whimsy and his fantastic worlds that he created from the BFG to the witches, in which there is a international witch organization, and a young boy discovers it, and then he is transformed. Uh, but then the reader finds out that his grandmother is uh, a witch hunter, I believe, and or a witch investigator, I believe, and that it is no coincidence that uh, his grandmother booked or chose that hotel for them to visit.
Hmm. Intriguing.
Yes, and that's why I think I will revisit the other Roald Dahl um, novels from the BFG, Matilda, The Twits, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Fantastic Mr. Fox, James and the Giant Peach, SEO Trot is another lovely story about a turtle.
Hmm.
But no, I think Roald Dahl is similar to Dr. Seuss, albeit Dr. Seuss is obviously more early children's literature, and then Roald Dahl is later, like middle school. But from from all of these stories, I think you start with Dr. Seuss, and then you can move on to Roald Dahl very easily because it's very similar, crazy characters and wacky adventures that they get into with more depth and character development. Like I would say, going back to Joe's story or Joe's idea about formative movies, the movie James and the Giant Peach. What a great movie that was. And Matilda. And really fantastic Mr. Fox. The BFG, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Indeed.
I have not read a lot of Roald Dahl. I like the illustrations in Roald Dahl books, and I do appreciate the stories that Roald Dahl told. Um, but I have not had chance per se to read a lot of them. So this has
Indeed.
been a look into the brains and influences of the Beard Bros. Um, Definitely had a interesting impact. Um, the things that we read when we were younger definitely had an interesting impact in forming the men, uh, humans, entities of the race we call humanity. Definitely had a very interesting influence on how we got to where we are now, how we became the Beard Brothers we are in this interesting interesting world we live in.
Yes, the world we live in is very interesting. And that's why books like these from Joe's of, Soap, Don't Forget the Soap, to the Magic Treehouse, to the Drama Stilton series, to the wide and varied Star Wars series, to classics like The Hobbit, Fahrenheit 451, The Alchemist, and Roald Dahl's assorted collection of children's literature. These pieces have an effect on you, whether you
You
didn't
see
like
it?
reading as much as when you were younger, and maybe you have a different relationship with it now, or just consuming different forms of media like television shows or movies or art or music or poetry or cooking. There's so many, I think, just pieces of media and experiences that, yeah, shape you into the person you are today.
Very, very true. Um, I will say, based off of your selection, the fact that you are on the path right now to become an English teacher is dramatically put into focus with your selection. It is very obvious how you came to want this for your life based off these books. You are literally you literally your formative literature is literally textbook curriculum for uh becoming an avid English person.
Yes. These classics are, these books show up on most of the curriculum around schools. But if we don't have, like, I would say my books are definitely uh, you know, later in life, while Joe's books are at the beginning. But you don't get to these classics if you don't have, the Magic Treehouse series, because that was another series that I also read many of. And, who knows if I would still be who I am if I didn't have that series to begin me on this journey.
And now I want to watch Monsters Inc. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. That
All right,
song at the end, you know?
now the real question is, who is Mike Wazowski and who is Sully? Or are we both Mike Wazowski?
Oh, oh, oh. I guess, much as it pains me to say this, I guess you're Mike Wazowski.
Here. We can take turns being Mike Wazowski because I think that's the dynamic of the Beard Brothers. Is
No,
that,
no, you're Mike
no,
Wazowski.
because
I'm the work. No, wait. Hold on. Now, it depends on how you look at it. Maybe you are Sully, because you are more of the workhorse in this relationship. No, wait. I'm the workhorse. Never mind. You're Mike Wazowski. I'm Sully. You tell me what to do and I do it.
well, all right.
Also, let's be honest.
well, well, at least I have what is Mike Wazowski's bow?
You
Uh,
know, I have this nice eye spray right here that you could definitely use on your eyeballs, and it is definitely not expired hand sanitizer that the
wow,
government gave me, and it was expired when they gave it to me.
wow, definitely not. What is Mike Wazowski's lovely lady?
Hmm,
Oh no.
I don't know. I don't know what I've been told.
Oh,
Celia.
Celia. Yeah, Celia May. Celia May.
Celia, you're
Oh,
giving.
right. Because Mike is like, oh, schmoopsie, schmoopsie poo. And then it's like Googly Bear. Aw,
Cecilia,
wow,
yeah,
so cute.
I'm begging you, please. Oh man, music is great.
It is. It is.
Now I'm just gonna have a shit ton of songs in my head. Shiitake mushroom, shippity shoppity shoop, shagamadungadang. And yes, this is me trying to torture Beard by saying the same syllable over and over.
Wow, indeed, indeed. But that's the relationship between the Beard Bros.
I say it with love.
Uh, wow, that's okay. Evangeline is waiting for you, Joe. Evangeline
Oh,
is waiting.
you rat.
Uh,
Why did you just keep stabbing down?
wow, with love,
I just keep
with love.
stabbing. You
You just
know what
keep
my
stabbing.
nickname? Yeah, you know what my nickname in college was? Spend it
Wow.
with a knife. I was very stabby in college. Not like actually stabby. Just
Yeah. Maybe
I kept
add
threatening. I
some
kept I
context.
kept I kept being like, I want to stab you, and then people are like, wow. And that's just how I show affection. If I say I want to stab you, that's just me saying I like you. If I
Yes, and it
don't
was
say I
not.
stab you, I want to stab you, then it's just like I don't want nothing to do with you. Nah, don't. No, I'm just kidding. Also, if you've never seen iCarly, that is where that joke comes from. I'm feeling stabby. Stabby isn't really a feeling. I'm feeling stabby.
Oh, what is this, Gibby?
No, it's when Spencer goes to a prison and tries to teach him how to make sculptures, and he's like, you gotta put your feelings into your sculpture, and the guy's like, can I make a knife? I'm feeling stabby. Stabby isn't really a feeling. Well, I'm feeling stabby. Such a good, uh, so good. I'm feeling wild. And if you think I sound wild, it's because my brain kind of shut off. So
What? That? How would the listeners know that
no,
your brain has turned off?
I sound a little wacky right now, and they're probably gonna think I'm on something. It's not that. It's I'm adjusting to a new sleep schedule, and it is past my bedtime on the new sleep schedule.
Yes,
So
it
I
is.
am,
It is later. It is later in your period of transition.
yeah, so I'm a little bit loopy now because I'm in that stage right before you start to get fully sleep deprived, and I should probably go to bed soon. After this is
Yes.
done, I think I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah. I think that is a great piece of advice
Don't
because
forget to
yeah.
go to bed, kids.
Yes. Yes. Sleep is important, and that's really when you know that you're getting older. When you realize that getting a good night's sleep is important.
You know you're getting older
Mm.
when your favorite thing to receive is new kitchenware.
Yes. Also,
I'm excited for
functional
tomorrow.
items.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
functional
excited for
items.
tomorrow because my roommate is coming back with mixing bowls, which is something we do not have. And let me tell you something. Using takeout containers as mixing bowls, it works when you're on a budget, but like when you have access to them and you don't use them, you're just kind of like, what's wrong with me?
Yes, I would say it works, but
You could
maybe
do
not very
better.
well.
You could do better.
Yes. All right, but I think that is the end of the formative literature of the Beer Brothers, and I'm excited to see what topic will be for the next episode.
Me too. I'm very excited to find out what that topic is and to get a little bit more detail when it is picked so that we don't have this whole I'm talking about this period of life. Oh, I'm going to talk about a completely different period of life, but I'm not going to tell you that that was even an option.
uh
I'm going to talk
I
about
think it
the
was more
obvious.
I think it was more of a transition. Beer Bro
It,
Joe talked about the earlier, and Beer Bro Graham talked about a little later.
I didn't know later was an option. You said formative literature. Most people, when they think of formative, you hear the word formative, you think of the formative years of your life, which, yes, I guess technically you could call high school formative,
Yeah,
but in
formative years are every year of your life that have an impact.
uh,
Oh, has Joe's life stopped becoming formative?
no, it's just it's hard. It's hard. You
It's
know?
hard. Life is hard.
It's hard to look at it in that way when like you accomplish because the problem is I know that I have accomplished a lot in my life already. I'm young, but I've accomplished a lot and I know this. I acknowledge it. The problem is everyone else also acknowledges it, but also they like to tell me that. So then I'm just kind of like, well, what more can I do? How do you squeeze lemon juice out of a squeezed lemon? I you know,
Indeed.
I'm pushing myself, but also if everyone keeps reminding me that I've done a lot and I still got a long way to go. It's 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 gotten to the point where finding something formative to do now by myself is not as fun. I'm more excited to do formative stuff with other people because A, I can relive formativeness through them, and B, it opens the door to new opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. I think collaboration and experiencing things with other people, I think becomes more important as you get older.
All I'm gonna say is humanity started as a very communal society, and if we're going to survive, we need to go back to that mindset of communal and not individual. Because individual is very lonely, and communal is a much, much, much more fun way to live if you think community wise versus individual wise. Sure, you get instant satisfaction with individual wise, but you get more heartfelt fulfillingness with community thinking.
Indeed, indeed, humans are social creatures, and
And that's why
that's why if you experience media, it's always better to share it with someone else, just as the Beer Brothers did right now. And we invite you, the listener, to share some of your favorite media with people in your life. Because the more you share, the more you collaborate, the more you open up I think the deeper relationships you can have, and then you build that community.
Facts.
All right, Beer Bro Joe. I think we have talked the ear off of our listeners. Uh, a very
Let's
very well today. Do you have any parting words?
um yeah. Go read some nice books, my friends. They're gonna open your world to a whole new realm of possibilities and thinking processes that you never would have considered otherwise.
Indeed, indeed. That's literally the easiest way to see someone else's perspective is to crack open a book, because in a metaphorical sense you're cracking open their mind and reading about what they think.
And how they got to that way of thinking sometimes.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I think that concludes the Beer Brothers episode, and we will see you next time.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Peace out.